The war between the US, Israel and Iran is causing global uncertainty and instability as attacks across the Middle East continue. Iran has launched multiple strikes across Israel. At least 6 people are reported injured after missile shrapnel hit a building in Tel Aviv. The Israeli military says search and rescue operations are underway at several other sites in the south. Haifa in the north has also been hit. Meanwhile, explosions have been reported across Tehran as the US and Israel target the Iranian capital. Early attacks hit Isfahan and other cities. And in the Gulf, Kuwait says falling missile debris caused by interceptions has left 7 power transmission lines out of service. The attacks come along with signs of a diplomatic channel opening. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has held calls with several countries in the last 24 hours, including Egypt, Pakistan and Oman. Well, let's now discuss these latest developments with Muhanad Seloom, Assistant Professor of International Politics at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. Thank you so much for being with us, Muhanad. So the 5-day clock that President Trump set is now ticking, but nothing's really changed on the ground. We've seen Iranian attacks on Israel, including on Tel Aviv, US-Israeli attacks on Iran continuing. What does it suggest to you about the trajectory of this conflict and the realistic end game scenarios here?
Maybe at this stage we have to look at how the conflict is looking like. It is a regional conflict with controlled escalation across 4 theaters or even more. So it's not anymore a US-Israeli-Iranian conflict. You have Iraq involved, you have Syria involved, you have Lebanon involved, Jordan as well, and the Gulf, which was a rear base in this war, now it became a front theater. Within this scene, if you like, the U.S. gave an ultimatum. President Trump gave an ultimatum to the Iranians saying that you would have to open the Strait of Hormuz or the U.S. is going to target the power plants or power targets inside Iran. Now, the pause, I don't see this as a cessation of attacks or hostilities.
No, clearly it's not on the ground, as we see. I mean, the attacks are continuing from all sides.
Indeed. This is a tactical pause because this war has 2 sides. One, which is purely military, and the U.S. is obviously having the upper hand in this, and they're achieving their set objectives, military set objectives. But it is very politically expensive back home, and also it's affecting the international economy, and this is where Trump is being, I think, squeezed in this. He's trying to find a pose where he could give the market some kind of a breathing space, and also maybe giving the Iranians a space to negotiate, because we did not give them. I think the U.S. is saying that we did not give them enough space to negotiate a way out of this.
We don't know where those negotiations stand right now. We understand that there are some conversations happening between different intermediaries. But if negotiations do materialize, you say that the U.S. has the upper hand militarily now. If negotiations do materialize, Iran would have the upper hand, wouldn't it?
Why would it have the upper hand?
Strategically, at least.
Strategically, the U.S., if it keeps holding the Strait of Hormuz, yes, it would. But I don't see the U.S. giving that up. And also, I don't see the region, because now it is a region-wide conflict. It's not only confined to the U.S.
So are you saying that if Iran and the U.S. were to agree to stop the war, that wouldn't necessarily mean an end to the conflict because it's a regional one?
Well, indeed, yeah. I mean, Israel is obviously having a different rhetoric to the U.S. one. And the Israeli, I think, Prime Minister said yesterday that I had a chat, he had a phone conversation with President Trump.
Right. He says they're aligned on their objectives, but is that not the case?
Well, politically, I don't see them on the same page, but they're fighting the same war in the same airspace. But they're going in that direction. They have set objectives, which are, I think, 2 main set objectives, at least that are identifiable. The first is to make sure that Iran never gets or owns a nuclear bomb. And so the second thing, that Iran does not or would not pose any kind of a threat to the U.S. or its allies' interests in the region. But other than this, I think both countries have their own agendas, and the U.S. has its own, if you like, domestic politics, Israel as well, and the region. I think it's now not confined to Israel and the U.S. Regional powers now, they should have a say in this because their interests are being affected directly.
Speaking of regional powers, some reports have suggested mediation through Turkey and potential meetings in Islamabad, Pakistan. and perhaps most importantly, a proposed meeting between J.D. Vance and Kalibaf of Iran. What does that suggest to you that now, perhaps if these negotiations do happen, that they might be moving to other intermediaries and other interlocutors, it would seem?
I think all these reports are not confirmed, as far as I have checked just before coming here.
Okay.
And I think one would have to point out what is the main weakness of the U.S. I said earlier that the U.S. has the upper hand, along with Israel, obviously, in
militarily.
In terms of military power. But I think their main weakness is that they have not yet communicated a clear strategy. What do they want out of this war? And yes, I set out the two objectives that they have said, but how are they going to materialize this? Because this war cannot be settled down in military power.
What about the Iranians? What do they want? How do they want this to end?
To me, it seems that the Iranians want to survive this war. If they survive this war, the regime, obviously, they would have to declare victory. But now it is also a gray area because everybody who was there in power before the 28th of February is now decapitated, neutralized, killed by the US and Israel. And how Iran would survive, how it would look like after the war ends, I think that anybody's guess. It's not going to be the same Iran, definitely, and the region is not going to be the same.
A great deal of uncertainty still, no doubt. Thank you so much, Muhanad. Always interesting to talk to you. Muhanad Seloom from the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies joining us on Al Jazeera.